Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. President Donald Trump unloaded on CBS in 60 Minutes yesterday, insisting his new ownership is, quote, no better than the previous regime after Lesley Stahl's Sunday interview with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, whom the president has called a traitor during their recent feud. We have all the details on that. New York City Mayor-elect Democrat Socialist Zohran Mamdani is starting to build his leadership team, and you're not going to believe one of his top picks for his mayoral transition committee on the criminal legal system. And let me give you a hint. This guy has plenty of experience with the criminal justice system, firsthand experience. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has predicted the U.S. will end the year with 3% real GDP growth as President Trump prepares a national tour to promote his economic successes before the 2026 midterms. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, is warning that Illinois officials are releasing violent criminal illegal aliens despite active immigration detainers, a move the agency says is putting the public at risk. And according to a civil rights group, several civil rights groups actually, in a recently filed federal lawsuit, a South Carolina law meant to prevent election fraud is actually making it harder for people with disabilities to vote.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, you know, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
I shared with you some of the highlights from the 60 Minutes interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene on Sunday. Well, it appears we got another media firestorm brewing here in Washington. Once again, CBS, 60 Minutes are right at the center of it. And if you thought President Trump was just going to let this one slide, well, you haven't been paying attention these last few decades, have you? It all stems from Lesley Stahl's weekend interview with former, or soon-to-be former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. She'll be resigning effective in early January. She has called her, President Trump has called her a traitor. She's apologized for her role in toxic politics. And now, during this 60 Minutes interview, pours gasoline all over the situation.
I'm going to ask you about this almost solid support he has among Republicans in Congress. Is there in that support fear? Does the support come about because they're afraid that they'll get death threats?
I think they're terrified to step out of line and get a nasty Truth Social post on them. Yes.
And they're watching what happened to you?
Yes.
Behind the scenes, do they talk differently?
Yes.
How?
Oh, it would shock people.
Well, let's shock people.
Okay. I watched many of my colleagues go from making fun of him, making fun of how he talks, making fun of me constantly for supporting him, to when he won the primary in 2024, they all started, excuse my language, Lesley, kissing his ass and decided to put on a MAGA hat for the first time.
Now, the big headline here is no longer Marjorie Taylor Greene necessarily. It's President Trump unloading on CBS, on Lesley Stahl, and on the network's brand new ownership. Here's the backdrop. CBS's parent company, Paramount, just merged with Skydance Media. New CEO David Ellison brought in by Barry Weiss, someone known for criticizing liberal groupthink. They came in to overhaul CBS News. People thought Trump might actually like the new direction. Not so much. On True Social, President Trump said the new ownership is, quote, no better than the old guard. He accused the network of allowing a hit job by Greene, but also took aim at Lesley Stahl personally, saying that she still owes him an apology for her infamous 2020 interview when she dismissed the Hunter Biden laptop scandal on national television. You remember that moment? Trump says Biden was involved in a massive scandal. Stahl responds, he's not. We can't air things we can't verify. Well, we all know how that played out, don't we? Turns out the laptop was in fact real. The emails were real. And the media had to quietly correct themselves, although Stahl never apologized. And President Trump isn't letting go of that. So he wrote, they are no better than the old ownership. Since they bought it, 60 Minutes has actually gotten worse. And he demanded, in all caps, a complete and total apology for Stahl's handling of the laptop story. Now, this is classic Donald Trump. Not just hitting back, demanding a correction, a retraction, accountability, something the legacy press rarely gives him. But then he comes out after Marjorie Taylor Greene, or Marjorie Taylor Greene, as he is now dubbed her. He didn't spare MTG. He said, Marjorie is not America First or MAGA. Her new views are those of a very dumb person. He called her performance on 60 Minutes poorly prepared and said she made really stupid statements. Now, as you know, this is a pretty stunning turn, considering that Marjorie Taylor Greene was once one of Trump's fiercest defenders on Capitol Hill. But in politics, especially 2025 politics, loyalties seem to change pretty quickly. You never know which direction someone's going to take. And boy, this whole thing with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump has just gone sideways real quick, hasn't it? While all this drama is unfolding, Paramount is simultaneously trying to pull off a hostile takeover of Warner Brothers. New CEO David Ellison launched an all-cash tender offer to buy the remaining WBD shares. Is a massive multi-billion-dollar move. Now, here's the irony if you're wondering, well, what does that have to do with what President Trump has said about Marjorie Taylor Greene and vice versa? Well, just months ago, Paramount paid Trump $16 million to settle his lawsuit over their editing of a Kamala Harris interview, a case that Trump said amounted to election interference. And they settled it. Evidently, they didn't want to go to court. That settlement cleared the path for the FCC to approve the Paramount-Skydance merger. Now we're seeing the first major clash between Trump and the newly configured CBS News, and it's clear the truce did not last very long. This isn't just about Trump venting on social media. This could potentially get a lot deeper. This is about a legacy news program that's trying to reinvent itself and not getting off to a very good start. This is about a president who still sees the mainstream media as dishonest and hostile, which they go out of their way to prove him right. It's about a once loyal ally, Marjorie Taylor Greene, breaking ranks in a big way. I mean, did you ever see that one coming? She sort of slowly started moving into this role a few months back. But I never thought that I would see Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of President Trump's biggest defenders, biggest allies in the U.S. House of Representatives, turn so quickly and so viciously. And you also have a media empire in there, Paramount, fighting for relevance in a very rapidly changing landscape. Lesley Stahl's interview with Greene became the spark. But the underlying tension is much bigger. And that's why it's gotten so deadly so quickly. Trump doesn't trust CBS. He doesn't believe the culture inside 60 Minutes has changed at all. I don't watch 60 Minutes that often, so I wouldn't be a fair judge on that. I did watch the Marjorie Taylor Greene because I was curious about what she had to say. Had it not been MTG on there, I would not have watched it. I can't tell you the last time I've watched 60 Minutes, again, unless it's something really politically interesting to me. So I don't know if, in fact, 60 Minutes has changed since the horrible job they did with the Kamala Harris interview. They clearly were wanting Kamala Harris to be sitting in the Oval Office right now. They clearly wanted to try to prop her up, knowing that she didn't have the ability to be president, knowing that she couldn't even answer some of their questions. So what did they do? They heavily edited it to try to make her look good. And to be fair, the media's track record over the last decade hasn't exactly earned the benefit of the doubt either in all of this. So where do we go next? Of course, CBS hasn't responded yet. Maybe they don't respond. Paramount hasn't responded either, and I doubt they will either because of them being in this very tricky buyout situation. Marjorie Taylor Greene hasn't fired back. It won't surprise me, though, if she does. She likes to fire back. But knowing all three players here and throwing Trump into the mix, the storyline is far from over. I mean, he very well could file suit against him again. Who knows? Marjorie Taylor Greene could potentially go on the offense against him again. Because what does she have to lose now? Nothing. She's out. She's out of MAGA. Nobody trusts her in MAGA anymore. The president's not going to give her time of day. At least, not today. That could change as quickly as well. Everyone says they'll start after the holidays, and that's exactly why most people never tackle those extra pounds at all. Joey Hudson here. Right now, PhD Weight Loss is making it easy to start before the new year with a bonus designed to get you moving now. They're adding 2 free weeks to your program. That means you can ramp up during the holidays and start the new year already working towards your goals. Those 2 free weeks mean you won't roll into January feeling behind. You'll hit January already losing, already feeling better, already in control. PhD's metabolic reset system teaches your body to burn fat first. No drugs, no starvation diets, no endless workouts, just a smarter science-based system that fits real life. And when you mention 2 weeks on the phone, they'll waive your consultation fee and pay for the cost of your food during the entire program. There's no reason to wait, no reason to repeat last year. Call PhD Weight Loss today and start 2026 already ahead. 864-644-1900. Call today. That's 864-644-1900 or go to myphdweightloss.com. Don't wait. Do it today. A new lawsuit that claims that our state election laws are putting South Carolina at risk is back in the headlines. Now, you may remember back in 2022, lawmakers tightened up absentee ballot rules to crack down on the very real possibility of ballot harvesting. This after, of course, the 2020 elections, and we saw what happened around the country. No excuse, early voting was opened up to everyone. But to prevent abuse, legislators put in a limit. Any one person can only request or return 5 absentee ballots for someone else. Now, most people hear that and say, okay, that sounds reasonable. That's simply common sense. You stop someone from scooping up 30, 40, 50 ballots and doing God knows what with them. But last week, the ACLU and the NAACP filed a federal lawsuit saying that this rule is making it harder for people with disabilities to vote, especially folks in nursing homes. They've brought forward these 3 residents, 2 in Union County, 1 in Chester County. These are older South Carolinians who've relied on the same staff members for years to help them request ballots. They fill them out. They get them turned in. Before the law, the new law, some staffers handled 10, 20, even 25 ballots from residents because they were trusted. Now, they're capped at 5. And here's where the lawsuit builds its case. One social worker in Chester, someone residents really depend on, says that she had to pick her 5 and then send someone else off to find another helper. One man in Union County says he's worried he won't get help from family members who don't know the deadlines or the process. Another resident says he trusts staff far more than his relatives who aren't around daily. So you kind of see where this is headed. You see the story that's building here? So the ACLU argues the state is effectively forcing vulnerable people to rely on strangers or inconsistent helpers, and that violates the Federal Voting Rights Act. Now, that's a stretch, I would say, which says the Federal Voting Rights Act says voters get to choose who assists them. And if 15 residents all choose the same person under federal law, that's supposedly allowed. Now, where does that stand right now in the state of South Carolina? Let's rewind to this rule, why this rule exists in the first place. Representative Brandon Newton of Lancaster, the guy who carried the bill in the House, says the cap was a compromise to prevent large-scale ballot harvesting. If one person shows up with a backpack full of ballots, that's when you worry about shenanigans. His words, and he's right. We've seen this story play out in other states. Representative Newton says that lawmakers debated everything from immediate family only to no limits at all. They finally landed on 5 because it covers the typical family situation. Allows you to help elderly parents, in-laws maybe a spouse. Any more than that, Representative Newton says, starts looking suspicious, and he's right. So here's the tension. Lawmakers were trying to prevent mass fraud. The ACLU says they've now created mass inconvenience. Nursing homes could spread the work among multiple employees, but the ACLU says that violates the residents' right to pick their helper. And here's another wrinkle. The helper must be a registered South Carolina voter. That's a problem for facilities near Georgia or the North Carolina border where a lot of staff commute in. So now we're headed toward a showdown in federal court. The ACLU wants the law blocked immediately, then thrown out altogether. The State Election Commission, also named in the suit, is not commenting presently. Now, let me just say this. Once again, we find ourselves navigating the balance between election integrity and accessibility. Conservatives say safeguards matter. They protect the vote. They prevent fraud. They ensure one person equals one vote. And look, what we have seen over the past few years nationally, that may not be paranoia because we saw it happening, didn't we? Particularly down in Georgia. So, look, nobody wants grandma in a nursing home having problem voting. Someone who's voted for 60 straight years, voted every time she's been eligible to vote, to lose her voice because her one trusted helper hit a legal limit. It's a tough intersection, and it's one that our courts will now have to sort out. I mean, once again, we find ourselves balancing or navigating and trying to balance between election integrity and accessibility. Conservatives say safeguards matter. I agree. We have to protect the vote. We have to prevent fraud. And we know that regardless of what the law is, there's always going to be somebody wanting to take advantage of it. They ensure one person equals one vote. And after what we've seen, again, happen, and again, I keep thinking about Georgia and what we saw in Georgia with boxes full of ballots being harvested, we just have to have some type of safeguards not to let that happen anywhere, not just in South Carolina, but anywhere. So my hope is that South Carolina finds a way to continue to tighten up security without shutting out folks who need help the most. Maybe there's some type of difference or waiver for nursing homes, but there has to be safeguards. You can't just turn people loose in nursing homes to gather votes, because I would argue that people in nursing homes, the most vulnerable, can also be taken advantage of. And you get an organized group going in there, they could truly change the way these people want to vote. I mean, election integrity and compassion aren't always opposites. We just have to be smart enough to hold on to both. We can protect the integrity of a vote while also making sure that our elderly citizens are able to vote like they have been their entire lives. President Trump is heading back out on the road, and this time he has primarily one mission: remind Americans what he says is really happening with the economy. And we got to do this because this is a message we have to get right prior to the midterm elections in 2026. We just have to get it right. At a round table at the White House this week, President Trump said it very plainly. We inherited a mess, and he did. He was talking about the economy left behind by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, high inflation, supply chain breakdowns, and what he's calling an affordability crisis engineered by Joe Biden. But now, Trump says his team is cleaning it up. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent backed that up, predicting that the U.S. will end the year with a 3% real GDP growth, despite the recent government shutdown he pinned squarely on Chuck Schumer and Senate Democrats. And look, if in fact that happens, if that comes to reality, that will be a major win considering we just had the longest government shutdown in our country's history. Secretary Bessent even called the economy better than expected, promoting multiple quarters of 4% growth earlier in the year and rising blue-collar wages, though he admits some income gaps are still a big challenge. Meanwhile, President Trump's economic message isn't just stats. He's got real-world talking points. At Monday's event, the president rolled out a $12 billion bailout for American farmers, especially those hit hard by China trade negotiations. One fifth-generation Iowa farmer called it Christmas early. Trump said China may even buy more than $40 billion in soybeans thanks to new agreements with the country. Now, let's be honest. The White House knows it's got work to do on messaging, or at least I hope they understand that there's work to do. President Trump's team took a few bruises in off-year races in places like Virginia and in New York. Nearly half of voters told Fox News in a recent poll that they're not sold on President Trump's economic policies yet. They're worried his trade wars may be doing more harm than good. And let's face it, and I had a conversation just this past weekend with a lady I've known for many, many years who said, Joey, I love our president. I support our president, but my food bill is just through the roof, and it's not changing. And she basically was asking me to try to help me get me to help her understand when things are going to get better. Now, this is a person who is on a fixed income, and she's worried about it. Her health insurance or her Medicare coverage has gone up. Her food's gone up, and she's having a tough time. So that's what concerns me most about going into 2026, because in the end, we all vote with our pocketbook. The economics is the most important issue, even if we don't always admit it. And we have to be honest. Yes, things have gotten better. Yes, I'm happy with the 3% real GDP growth estimate that the Treasury Secretary is suggesting we will achieve. That's great news. But people still are struggling. And some people aren't seeing these benefits. And they'll go back to the polls next year, and they may be ready for another change. Now, the president's betting big. He's betting that pocketbook wins will turn that around by next November. He's calling the Democrats the new Make America Affordable Again campaign a con job, reminding voters that inflation hit 9.1% under Joe Biden. And to win working families back, he's now pushing ideas like the $2,000 tariff rebates, 50-year mortgages for first-time buyers, and $1,000 savings accounts for kids. Well, the $1,000 savings account, we talked about that the other day too. That's a great program. And with Michael Dale and Susan Dale stepping forward and donating, $6.25 billion to help fund that, that's a great public-private partnership. Let's talk about the 50-year mortgages, though. Those got lukewarm reception. I'm not sure that a 50-year mortgage is a good thing to do with a young person, with a young couple wanting their first home. I just don't know that's a good idea. I'm not convinced yet. Maybe you can convince me. Text me, email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the My Pillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639, and just leave me a message. Always use promo code Joey when you go to mypillow.com. Mike Lindell has some great Christmas deals going on right now, and you need to be finishing up your Christmas shopping, right? So go to mypillow.com or call 800-893-4059. Use promo code Joey to take advantage of these wholesale prices for Christmas, including the standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98 with promo code Joey. Queens are $18.98. Kings only $1 more. We know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right. Orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March 1st, 2026. So there's no reason not to take advantage of the Christmas specials. Get the Children's Bible Story Pillow, 5-pack for $29.98. My Slippers with a free bottle of leather protectant spray for $39.98. Blankets, comforters, duvets for as low as $25, and a blowout sale on the standard MyPillows for just $14.98. So again, go to mypillow.com or call 800-893-4059. Use promo code Joey to get the very best Christmas price that you can get. But yeah, leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, because I need you to help me understand this. Do you think the 50-year mortgage is a good idea? And then as far as the $2,000 tariff rebates, now I've thrown this out a couple of times since the president first mentioned it. And I've asked you, and I haven't done, obviously, a scientific poll, but I've asked you to text me. I've asked you to email me. I've asked you to leave me a message on the MyPillow message line. Many of you have. And I don't know that I've had a single person who was totally convinced that a $2,000 tariff rebate was a good thing to do, because we're all having flashbacks to the COVID rebates and what that did to our economy, what that did to inflation. So, look, the president is promising a lot of things, and we're going to start feeling some of these things as the One Big Beautiful Bill slowly takes effect. A sweeping tax cut package that President Trump calls the most aggressive economic reform since President Reagan. And he's right. We'll see those benefits. It's just going to take a little time. But some people are saying, I don't have much time. I need something quickly. Bottom line is President Trump's campaign is pivoting back to what worked in 2016 and again in 2020 as far as the economy goes. Of course, Joe Biden blew all that up in 4 years. He's going to have a national tour starting this week, including a stop at a Pennsylvania casino. The president's ready to hit the jackpot with voters again. I threw that one in there at the end. Hey, we got a pretty alarming story out of Illinois that I want to quickly talk with you about. As daily we talk about, seems like there's a breaking news story as far as illegal immigrants, and President Trump continues to fight to send these people back home. Well, this one, ICE is sounding the alarm, saying that Illinois officials are releasing violent criminal illegal aliens back into the public despite active immigration detainers. And according to the feds, we're not talking about low-level offenders here. We're talking about individuals convicted of murder, rape, child pornography, aggravated kidnapping, armed robbery, you name it, they've been convicted of it. Todd Lyons with ICE laid it out in a very blunt letter to state leaders in Illinois, saying that Illinois has tens of thousands of criminal illegal aliens in custody, and instead of handing them over for deportation, local agencies are letting them go back out on the street. He says since January alone, the state has released 1,768 criminal aliens ICE was actively trying to remove. So they have to go out and hunt them down again. And this is where it gets really disturbing, because ICE says another 4,000 plus offenders with detainers still sitting on them remain in custody right now, including suspects tied to 51 homicides and more than 800 sexual predatory crimes. That's not a paperwork snafu. That's a system broken by design. That's Illinois just ignoring our federal government. ICE even released photos of some of the offenders that Illinois has turned loose. A man convicted of attempted murder, aggravated sexual assault. The list goes on and on and on. President Trump needs to come down on Illinois. Just hold the federal money. That'll get their attention. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you could trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. I realize that who the mayor of New York City is doesn't necessarily affect us here in the Palmetto State. I realize that. But it's to our benefit, I think, to keep up with the disturbing turn of events in America's largest city. Because the Democrats, the left, the socialists, the progressives, whoever you want to throw into that basket, they're going to try to duplicate that somewhere else. They're already trying all around the country with some of the other major cities. So where the incoming mayor, Democrat Socialist Zohran Mamdani, is already proving exactly why so many Americans are concerned and why we should all be concerned about the direction of our big cities. Because somehow, in a city battling skyrocketing crime, brazen shoplifting, subway violence, and chronic anti-police politics, the mayor-elect has decided the best person to help shape New York's criminal justice policy is, you ready for this? A man who spent 7 years in state prison for armed robbery. 7 years. Now, Mr. Mamdani wants this guy to serve in his administration. I mean, you truly can't make this up. Mamdani has appointed rapper-turned-activist Myson Lennon to his mayoral transition committee on the criminal legal system. This is the group that will help determine policing, prosecution, and public safety priorities for the largest city in America. Now, I guess maybe you could argue that he does have experience. He has firsthand experience of the criminal justice system. He has firsthand experience of how the prisons are run because he's been in one. Mr. Lennon was a rising rap artist in the late 90s until he was convicted of 2 violent robberies against taxi drivers in the Bronx. Prosecutors said his crew held up cabbies at gunpoint June 1997, March 1998, terrifying working class New Yorkers trying to earn a living, taxi drivers. He was sentenced to 7 to 14 years. He walked out on parole in 2006. And now he's advising the next mayor on how to run the justice system. Wow. Lennon says his appointment is a testament to his work on behalf of black and brown communities, and celebrated the move on Instagram. Meanwhile, the law enforcement leaders across the city are staring at the ceiling asking what on earth is going on. What just happened? The Correction Officers Benevolent Association called it deeply disturbing. Retired NYPD Chief John Schell said it's exactly what you'd expect from a mayor-elect who's been cheering anti-police rhetoric for years now. And honestly, this isn't happening in a vacuum, because Mamdani has packed his transition teams with some of the most extreme, anti-police, anti-Israel, far-left activists on the map. You've got black nationalist organizers who supported convicted cop killers. You have a Brooklyn College professor who wrote an entire book attacking modern policing. Radical education activists who praise Asada Shakur, yes, the fugitive convicted of murdering a New Jersey state trooper. A transportation activist whose ideas would practically shut down half the city. Susan Herman, who oversaw Mayor de Blasio's failed billion-dollar mental health initiative that delivered almost nothing to the people who actually needed mental health services. And now, a convicted armed robber who once posed proudly with Louis Farrakhan to help lead criminal justice discussions. Again, I'm very creative, but I couldn't make this up. This is the team that will shape how police are allowed to operate. This is the team that will influence how laws are enforced. This team will guide a city already struggling under the weight of organized retail theft, rising assaults, and a demoralized police force. I mean, what kind of message are you sending to your men and women in blue, people that you will need to keep your city safe, and you haven't even gotten into office yet, and you're sending these types of signals? How do you do that? I don't have an answer for you. You know, for all the political theater we see in New York, this actually matters. And again, I say it matters to everyone because this is the beginning. You've got groups out there right now. I told you a couple weeks ago about the Communist Party in America is reactivating. They saw his win as an opening for them to go to other cities and duplicate it. It matters because when you stack your transition committees with people who spent years attacking law enforcement, undermining public safety, and rewriting the definition of justice, you get the kind of city where criminals feel emboldened, where cops feel abandoned, and everyday families just aren't sure they're safe. Mamdani's team couldn't even spell some of their appointees' names right in the official announcement. That tells you everything you need to know about how chaotic this operation already is, and he hasn't even been sworn in yet. Critics are warning this is the opening chapter of an administration that could push New York further left than even Bill de Blasio dreamed of. Groups are already sounding the alarm, including Jews Fight Back, which posted, insane. New York City is being handed over to radicals, extremists, and outright terrorists. And look, that may sound a little dramatic. This whole story may be a little dramatic. But when your public safety transition team includes an armed robber, a Farrakhan supporter, a cop killer sympathizer, and the professional anti-police activist class, what exactly is the counter-argument? How do you not see this for what it really is? I mean, the bottom line is New York is at a crossroads. Now, I am just blessed that I don't live there. And I'm just blessed that it doesn't affect me on a day-to-day basis, but it eventually will affect all of us. I mean, New York can choose competence. They can choose keeping their city safe, or it can hand the keys to the city to the far-left ideologues who think policing is the problem and criminals are the misunderstood heroes of the story. Kind of like Ilhan Omar saying that the Somali community in her Minnesota community, they're the victims of the $1 billion plus COVID fraud. The fox guarding the hen house. I mean, the early signs under Mayor-elect Mamdani, they're not reassuring at all. They're very disturbing. Because if your first move is to bring a convicted armed robber into the room to redesign the justice system, it's not criminal justice reform, not by a long shot. It's criminal justice deform. And the people in New York are the ones who will pay the price. And again, this movement will grow, and it will start growing in other cities, one maybe closer to you than you would like, than you'd feel comfortable at. That's it for today's show. Tara's up next, followed by Mike Gallagher, Bill Frady, Charlie James. I'm back again tomorrow at 5 a.m. with more of Sunrise Carolina and your first cup of coffee. Hope you'll join me. Until then, remember, folks, God's got this. He's still in control. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.